Lewis Hamilton called the 10-second penalty at the Mexico City GP a crazy decision. But behind that frustration lies a deeper question that's been echoing through the Formula One paddock. Are the stewards still capable of enforcing fair and consistent judgment amid the growing complexity of modern racing? In the middle laps, Hamilton ran wide at turn 4 after an intense duel with Max Verstappen. He rejoined the track ahead of his longtime rival, and that single moment sparked a storm. The stewards ruled that Hamilton had gained a lasting advantage. The penalty followed soon after. The problem is a similar incident earlier in the race, when Verstappen himself ran wide defending his position, went unpunished. For many, that difference in interpretation exposed an old flaw: how the FIA defines lasting advantage versus racing incident remains subjective, often swayed by context and reputation. For Hamilton, this penalty wasn't just about losing a podium. It symbolised the uncertainty that continues to haunt the new era of Formula One, where the line between aggression, error and injustice grows ever blurrier. We all know modern racing isn't just about who's fastest. It's also about human judgment behind closed doors. Decisions that can reshape the entire outcome of a Grand Prix. And when those calls feel unbalanced, the question becomes unavoidable. Can Formula One still protect the fairness that built its legacy? If you want more deep dives like this, analyses that peel back what really happens behind the paddock doors and FIA controversies, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss our next look beneath the surface of Formula One. Hamilton's penalty in Mexico was not simply a time addition, it was the culmination of a larger pattern that has been unfolding over the past few seasons. Every incident between top drivers, especially those with history, seems to carry invisible weight. The names involved, Hamilton and Verstappen, trigger memories, precedents, and biases, even unintentionally. The stewards insist each decision is isolated, but the human mind rarely works that cleanly. The Mexico clash began in the most ordinary way. Hamilton, on fresher tyres and sensing an opportunity, dived inside Verstappen into turn 4. The Dutchman, known for his uncompromising defence, kept his line tight. The two touched wheels, Hamilton's Mercedes skipping over the curb before slicing back onto the racing line ahead. From the cockpit, it must have felt instinctive. Avoid a collision, recover, move on. From the steward's room, it looked like a driver who left the track and gained a position. 10 seconds. End of story. But motorsport decisions are never that sterile. Onboard replays show Verstappen drifting slightly left before contact, leaving Hamilton minimal space. If that moment had occurred in reverse, Verstappen rejoining ahead after being forced wide, would the same penalty have applied? That's where the debate sharpens. Because while the rulebook is written in black and white, its enforcement lives in shades of grey. Mercedes argued their driver had nowhere to go. Red Bull countered that Hamilton could have yielded. Both are technically right, and that's the crux of Formula One today. The margins are microscopic, yet the consequences massive. A 10-second penalty not only costs places, but reputation. It tells the world one driver overstepped while the other didn't. And when the line shifts from race to race, confidence in the system erodes. Hamilton's reaction was emotional, but restrained. "I left space for Max," he said. "It's pretty nuts, to be honest. I don't see how that's a penalty." Behind the calm delivery, there was fatigue, not just from a hard-fought race, but from a decade of being under the microscope of regulation. His frustration wasn't aimed purely at the Mexico stewards, but at what he sees as the sport's growing inconsistency. For Verstappen, the narrative was different. The reigning champion brushed off the drama with a characteristic shrug. "It's fine to think different," he told media afterwards. "We just need to be faster." That sentence captured his detachment, part confidence, part pragmatism. While others debated fairness, Verstappen was already thinking about Red Bull's fading dominance. Mexico exposed cracks in their armour, overheating tyres, balance issues, and a car that suddenly looked mortal against Ferrari and McLaren. Yet even Red Bull's own celebration of Verstappen's recovery, calling him a hound dog chasing down lost ground, indirectly reinforced the double standard. He was applauded for aggressive racing where others were punished for it. The optics didn't help the FIA's cause. If this sounds familiar, it's because Formula One has been here before. Think back to Austria 2019 when Verstappen muscled past Leclerc for victory after running him off the track. No penalty. Or to Silverstone 2021 when Hamilton clipped Verstappen into the barriers. Penalty given, but still won the race. These precedents live in the minds of fans, teams, and even drivers. Each ruling forms a patch in the larger fabric of trust that holds the sport together. When that fabric frays, perception becomes as powerful as fact. And perception is what drives emotion in Formula One. To the fans in Mexico, the penalty felt harsh. To some pundits, justified. To Hamilton, political. The truth, as always, sits somewhere in the middle, but what matters most is that no one seems certain anymore. The steward's decisions, once taken as final, now spark as much debate as the races themselves. Behind the scenes, even FIA insiders admit consistency remains their Achilles heel. Different panels oversee different weekends with subtle variations in how they interpret wording like significant advantage or forcing another driver off track. It's a system built on human discretion, necessary in theory but volatile in execution. Meanwhile, Hamilton's penalty reshaped the entire complexion of his race. The Mercedes, increasingly competitive on medium tyres, lost rhythm. He slipped to 8th by the flag, his recovery undone by a decision that arguably hinged on 2 seconds of racing footage. But beyond the result, it was the symbolism that lingered. Hamilton, 7-time world champion, being judged by a process that feels arbitrary even to insiders. It feeds the growing unease about where Formula One is headed. Because when racing becomes a courtroom drama, when every duel carries the risk of post-race adjudication, the essence of the sport starts to blur. Drivers hesitate, engineers second-guess strategies, fans turn skeptical. The FIA, in trying to protect fairness, sometimes strangles spontaneity, the very pulse that makes racing alive. Still, it's not just a matter of officiating. The Mexico weekend also revealed how close the top teams now are. Verstappen may have escaped with more points, but his margin of dominance is thinning. Red Bull's once invincible RB21 struggled to find grip at altitude, while Ferrari and McLaren closed the gap in race trim. Norris, in particular, was sublime, carving through the field with precision that reminded everyone why McLaren's resurgence isn't a fluke. For all of Verstappen's control, the narrative beneath the surface has shifted. His coolness in dismissing the Hamilton clash might reflect not arrogance, but awareness that Red Bull's true fight lies elsewhere, against time, against development curves, against complacency. Hamilton, meanwhile, leaves Mexico with bruised pride but renewed purpose. Sometimes it feels like we're racing more than just the other drivers, he said, a quiet jab wrapped in diplomacy. Mercedes updates are beginning to bite, but what he really craves is clarity. A sense that the rules apply equally, no matter the names or colours involved. Formula One thrives on conflict, mechanical, tactical and moral. And this Mexico City Grand Prix had all three. The lap charts will show Verstappen triumphant again, but the deeper story belongs to a sport wrestling with its own reflection. The question isn't whether Hamilton deserved that penalty. It's whether Formula One, in its relentless pursuit of order, is losing touch with the chaos that once defined its soul. So, the real issue lingers, long after the engines fall silent. Can Formula One ever be truly fair? Or has the pursuit of fairness itself become the very thing that's breaking the race apart?